I'm probably a bit late to the party when it comes to this video, but I wanted to share my best bike changes of 2024 because I've changed a lot of stuff on my bike, but last year I would say they were the biggest changes, the most life-changing changes, and the ones that have actually made me enjoy cycling the most. So, first off, in 2023, I started riding with a Wahoo bike GPS and an Apple Watch, and I got rid of both of those things because I found that with the Wahoo, with the GPS, with the Apple Watch, and with Strava, I even uninstalled Strava off of my phone. That while it did encourage me to ride faster and ride farther, sometimes that isn't what I want out of biking because I ride bikes in the first place just to have fun. And even when something is tracking me, it's just in the back of my mind that I should be riding a little bit faster. I should be riding a little bit farther, which is a great tool for a lot of people, but that's not the reason I ride my bike in the first place. So after getting rid of just all the tracking for my bike rides, I've been having more fun on my bike and just exploring at my own pace and not needing an app and a tracker to validate that my ride was good or not. And it's been great. By the way, I sold both my Wahoo and my Apple Watch, and I bought a PS5. It's so big it has to be behind the TV, and way better use of money. I finally beat Elden Ring after almost 3 years of playing it on and off. And then fixed gear riders, we like to change a lot of parts on our bikes because they're so simple, it's so easy. Like if I want to swap handlebars, I just flop out the stem and put on another stem on with another set of handlebars. And like it's just really easy to experiment with different things. And one thing that I finally tried for the first time this year was using foot straps instead of toe clips and straps or clipless. Now, I've been a pretty diehard like toe clip and strap kind of guy for most of my fixed gear riding career because they're pretty comfortable and they're really secure. And unlike clipless when riding on a fixed gear, whoop, I just hit my other bike. Unlike clipless when riding on a fixed gear, you never pop out of them if your cleats wear down. That's why I don't ride clipless anymore. Because when I skid, I mostly pull. So that was sketchy. But this is my first time. I've tried out the foot straps pretty extensively. And these are some hold-fast straps with some flat pedals, the Velo Orange Sabot pedals. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that correctly. And I've been really liking them so far. I've been riding them for most of 2024. I would say they're more comfortable than the toe clips because it more evenly distributes the pressure over across the top of your foot. The cons, though, is that I don't think they look as cool, which, you know, if you're riding fixed gear, that's the whole point. And also, they're a little bit harder to get in. Especially as the straps age, I've found that it gets floppier and it can be a little bit difficult to get in. And that would be the reason if I ever do go back to toe clips and straps. But I really like these because they don't scuff shoes. Like no matter what toe clips I use with toe clips and straps, they just always scuff shoes, even if they're just like the basic plastic toe clips. If they're metal, metal is really bad, or if they have a rounded profile, every single one of them scuffs shoes. But the floppiness problem as the age, it is a huge problem because like these are your brakes on a fixed gear. If you can't get into your strap because you've stretched out the fabric so much from the straps, like that's a problem. It's like can't stop, don't want to either. It was actually such a big problem that when I took a bike trip to Taiwan and then I rode with my friend Hao, he he saw me struggling to get into my left strap. The whole ride, just most of the ride, I didn't even just get into my left strap because it would just flop over and not get on top of my shoe. And then he was like, bro, that's too dangerous. And then he gave me this set of straps that he had custom made for his shop, which are a lot thicker. So it really is strap dependent. And as much as I do like the hold fast straps, they're probably not the best. Just they need more support for the strap so they don't flop over and so you can have your brakes on your fixed gear. But overall, I'm really happy with them. They're super comfortable and they don't scuff up my shoes. And I don't have this on my bike, or at least on my Wabi Special right now, but I switched over to a spin to win gear ratio. And the only reason that I don't have it on my bike right now is because Sugino sent over the 75 direct drives for me to test out. So I wanted to see if they actually are stiffer. So now I'm on a bait like the regular 49-17 gear ratio. But on my Wabi Thunder, I'm riding a 43-19. Super, super spinny, and I actually really like it. I never tried out Spin to Win until last year, and to my surprise, after about a month or month and a half of doing it, I actually prefer it a lot more because I found that, okay, as fixed gear riders, like, for whatever reason, just try to have, pardon my French, a dick measuring contest about gear ratios, and whoever has the bigger gear ratio is supposedly like a stronger rider. That's not the case. And fixed gear riders usually tend to stay away from lower gear ratios, even though you have to like grunt up at every single hill if you're riding a bigger gear ratio. Like, I've found that most times on a fixed gear, I wish that I had a lower ratio than wishing that I had a bigger ratio. So going down, my normal ratio on my Wabi Special is 49-20 now, and that's like my go-to favorite ratio just for daily riding. It's way easier to get up hills. I can go just as fast as I normally am on the flats, and on top of that, it doesn't hurt my legs as much, and I find that I can ride longer distances and ride more consistently without having my legs turn into like mush. It's also easier to stop because I'm not a huge skidder. It just feels like I have a lot more control on my bike, and it makes riding off-road a lot easier. Also, riding with a big load, like a lot of times I'll put a bunch of weight, like 20, 30 pounds of groceries or whatever, in my front rack on my Wabi Thunder. By the way, this video is sponsored by Wabi Cycles. Go check them out in the description if you want. And it makes riding with a front load just like a lot easier to control. It's better on the off-roads. It doesn't hurt me as much as riding a bigger gear ratio. And I'm just as fast. Like, it's just good all around. And I've been a spin to win convert. I've also really been liking the big boy bottle cages that can fit a 1 liter Nalgene. This is the Velo Orange, what do they call it? Mojave cage. And I found out that I'm a thirsty boy, and whenever I just use like a regular sports bottle, it is not nearly enough water. Even in winter, I will load both of these Nalgene bottles up, and I will drink it all by the end of the ride. I just need a lot of water, and this is just better. The only con is that with this lid, at least, I can't drink while I'm on the bike super easily, especially if I have a front load. I don't really want to ride no-handed, so it's kind of like water stops are a thing now where I have to get off of my bike. Not a huge deal because, again, I don't really care about how fast I'm going. I care about having fun on my bike, and I stopped tracking my rides. Like, so much more freedom when you're not tracking your rides. And when I originally got these, I thought that it would bother me because it would like might rub against my legs. That doesn't really happen. It only is kind of an issue when I am wearing like wider leg pants and there's no bottles in here, and it kind of rubs against the top a little bit. But I love it so much that I have 2 of them on both of my bikes. And speaking of both of my bikes, I added another bike to my stable. Like, I've been a 1 bike, N equals 1 kind of guy for the longest time. And I finally added another bike to my stable because I had a need for it, and also I have like settled down and I'm not traveling the world like I'm a wanted murderer. And so I could actually have a second bike. And I built up the Wabi Thunder because I, number one, really wanted a bike with fenders, because now California is not like super in a drought anymore like we have been for the most of my life. It's raining the whole week, and I didn't want to be limited to riding my bike only when the weather is nice. Like, clip-on fenders are fine, but nothing beats the coverage of full fenders. Like, look how far this extends down. My feet are not getting wet. There's no way that you could get that kind of coverage with full fenders. Also, in the back, like, it goes all the way down to the bottom bracket. Like, again, you're not getting that kind of coverage with clip-on fenders. You can only get it with full fenders. And this is a really important thing to cover because the water will splash onto your seat tube, onto your drivetrain, and onto your calves. So it's made riding in the rain so much nicer. And I also wanted more of like I mean, this is not a beater bike per se, but it's kind of just my do things bike. It's the bike that I don't mind locking up and leaving outside of Target for an hour because it's just pretty stealthy. It is a nice bike, don't get me wrong, but you know, it's not as flashy and steal me as my Wabi Special is. So I built up my Wabi Thunder to be like my do everything bike. It can go off-road, it can ride in the rain. It's my no excuses bike. Like, because if there's any condition, this bike can handle it. If I need to go grocery shopping, if I want to ride off-road, if I need to go up steep hills, if I want to do bike touring, this bike can do it. And to my surprise, I thought that this would be like a more specific use case kind of bike, but it's actually just so fun to ride, especially off-road, that I ride my Wabi Thunder Barbara just as much as I ride my Wabi Special Gary. Adding another bike to my stable has expanded the types of riding that I do and how much fun I have when I ride my bike, and it just, you know, I could do more things on my bike. It's fun. Barbara is such a beast that I even plan maybe next week on trying to bike with my drum kit with it. We'll see how it goes, but like I think she can handle it. So be sure to get subscribed to see that. And the thing I've dabbled in with before but never really fully committed to is my rice cooker, is the front rack, because I always just threw on the front rack whenever I was going to do a longer ride so that it would just be a little bit more comfortable and I could carry more stuff on the bike. But now the front rack has become a permanent fixture on both of my bikes. This is a Simworks Obento front rack with a little walled like half basket, like racer basket up front. And it has been great because I usually need to carry some stuff when I'm riding my bike, tools, pump, that kind of stuff. And I was figuring out, like, why am I carrying this on my back and having my back get all sweaty when I could just throw it in the rack? And the reason was because not having a rack looks a little bit cooler, but I've sacrificed that and it has grown on me. I like the look of a front basket and a front rack. And just the amount of utility it has where I can just ride as far as I want without having to worry about back sweat or shoulder pain, it is invaluable. You can also put accessories on the front rack, like I have my light here, and it frees up handlebar space. Not that it's like a problem on bars this wide, but I just think it looks really clean. And, you know, that's the whole point of fixies. And then on my Wabi Thunder, this is a Velo Orange, what is it, Portour rack. This can hold up to 60 pounds on the front rack. That's right. It's like almost 3 times the weight of the bike itself it can hold on the front rack. It's pretty sick. And then on top, this is a PDW, what the heck do they call it? Loot bag or something? And it's huge. Like, this can fit enough groceries in it for 2 people for a week. I love this thing. And it can also fit most of my drum kit. I don't know how I've lived this long without this next one. The bike mechanic stand. I've been working on bikes for the past like 13 years or so, and I've never used a bike mechanic stand, and I always thought it was $200 or whatever. It's like kind of expensive. I'd rather buy a fancy crankset or whatever. But I should have bought this way earlier because it makes working on bikes so much easier and so much more fun, because half of bike mechanics is just trying to get a good angle for leverage and trying to see what you're doing, and the flexibility that you can adjust the mechanic stand with the height and the angle. You could even flip the bike over if you want. Although I've been doing it the old school way and just taking it out of the stand and then putting my weight into the bike. But it just makes jobs on the bike so much more enjoyable, so much easier, and take less time. I don't know how I ever lived without a bike mechanic stand. A little fun thing I did last year was I made these bike bracelets with my friends over at Harvest Accessory Design in Taichung, Taiwan, which is the birthplace of many of our bikes. These are the chain gang bracelets, if you could even see it. They're made out of DID Racing Pro NJS links and sweat-resistant wax cotton twine. This has become like a daily accessory of mine where it's classy, but still shows that like, hey, I'm a biker and I have style. Like, that's the whole point of Fixies. If you're interested in getting one, we only have non-NJS stamped ones left, but they're linked in the description. What else? I took a bike trip. Oh my gosh. I took a bike trip to Taiwan. That was amazing. I mean, it wasn't a bike trip. It was a trip to see my in-laws, and I just happened to bring my bike. But then I rode a lot with Hao, who's one of my best friends, and he owns Faith Gear. That's how you would know him. That aspect of his life is not that important to me. We rode from Taipei to Taichung, and it was the most memorable ride of my life. It was like 2 days and 150 miles, and just being able to spend 2 whole days just goofing around on bikes with one of my best friends was something that I will carry on with me until the day I die. And you can watch that video by clicking above. I won't spoil it, but we almost died. And that's not like the YouTuber exaggeration, we almost died. We literally almost died. And the biggest bike change that I've made this year, it was moving into this apartment. And this apartment is about a 3-minute ride from the American River Trail in Sacramento. And the American River Trail is 30 miles long, which is like 50K one way. So if you do the whole thing, that's 60 miles. It's amazing. There's no cars. It's well maintained with smooth paths. There's even some like gravel trails that you can go on for super long. And the best part is like I can finally ride my bike without having to worry that somebody texting on their phone and trying to find the best Drake song for their morning commute is going to kill me with their car. Like, it's a really freeing thing where I can finally do one of my most favorite things in life without having to wonder, am I going to be able to go home today, or am I going to end this ride in the hospital? Knowing that you're dying is something that we just have to accept in the back of our minds, especially as cyclists, because we could die any day that we go out and ride our bikes. As like morbid as it sounds, but we do it anyway because we love it so much. And then living right next to a top tier bike trail that removes that fear from the back of my mind makes riding so much more fun. I've been riding more, I've been doing a lot more off-road rides, and just being in nature and like seeing the turkeys and the deer and the vultures and the hawks, like it just brings a sort of satisfaction to my life that I've never had when it comes to riding, just always riding in cities and the suburbs. Just being in nature and seeing animals do their thing and just being like, whoa, that is sick. No doubt, like, renting this apartment has been the biggest game changer for my cycling that I've ever experienced other than getting a fixed gear. Let me know some of your best bike changes from last year in the comments.